So, as a lot of us already know, George Carlin was a comedy legend, ahead of his time. And even to this day, his words, his message still resonates. We see it now with what's going on with the Trump administration and the previous Trump administration, and the way the government, for say, Democrat, Republican, has been doing the same exact thing. Fighting wars that we don't want, giving tax cuts to those who are already extremely wealthy, and the working class, like always, you, me, forgotten. And it has been a cycle that has been happening for decades. So, without further ado, let's take a look at this old George Carlin clip and see how it resonates with today's Trump administration.
And a good-sized audience too. And I want to mention that this is probably I really haven't seen this many people in one place since they took the group photographs of all the criminals and lawbreakers in the Ronald Reagan administration. Yeah. 225 of them so far. 225 different people in the Ronald Reagan administration have either quit, been fired, been arrested, indicted, or convicted of either breaking the law or violating the ethics code. 225 of them. And Edwin Meese alone has been investigated by 3 separate special prosecutors, and there's a 4th one waiting for him in Washington right now. 3 separate special prosecutors have had to look into the activities of the Attorney General. And the Attorney General is the nation's leading law enforcement officer. See, that's what you got to remember. This is the Ronald Reagan administration we're talking about. These are the law and order people. These are the people who are against street crime. They want to put street criminals in jail to make life safer for the business criminals. They're against street crime. Yeah, they're against street crime, providing that street isn't Wall Street. And the Supreme Court decided about a year ago that it's all right to put people in jail now if we just think they're going to commit a crime. It's called preventive detention. All you got to do now is just think they're going to commit a crime. Well, if we'd have known this shit 7 or 8 years ago, we could have put a bunch of these Republican motherfuckers directly into prison. Put them in the joint where they belong, and we could have saved the money of putting these country club pin-headed assholes on trial. Another thing you got to remember, this is the group of people who were elected with the help of the moral majority. Elected with the help of the moral majority and the Teamsters Union. That's a good combination. Organized religion and organized crime working together to help build a better America. Another thing, keep in mind, these Reagan people are the ones that were going to get government off our backs. Remember that? That was the rhetoric of the 1980 campaign. We'll get government off your backs and out of your lives. Yeah, but they still want to tell you what magazines you can read, and they still want to tell you what rock lyrics you can listen to, and they still want to force your kids to pray in school, and they still want to tell you what you can say on the radio. The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, decided all by itself that radio and television were the only 2 parts of American life not protected by the free speech provisions of the First Amendment to the Constitution. I'd like to repeat that because it sounds vaguely important. The FCC, an appointed body, not elected, answerable only to the president, decided on its own that radio and television were the only 2 parts of American life not protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution. And why did they decide that? Because they got a letter from a minister in Mississippi. A Reverend Donald Wildman in Mississippi heard something on the radio that he didn't like. Well, Reverend, did anyone ever tell you there are 2 knobs on the radio? course, I'm sure the Reverend isn't that comfortable with anything that has two knobs on it. But hey, Reverend, there are two knobs on the radio. One of them turns the radio off, and the other one changes the station. Imagine that, Reverend. You can actually change the station. It's called freedom of choice, and it's one of the principles this country was founded upon. Look it up in the library, Reverend, if you have any of them left when you finish burning all the books. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I am getting pretty sick and tired of these fucking church people. I have just about had it with these fucking church people, all of them. You know what I say we ought to do at these churches? Tax them. Tax these motherfuckers. If they're so interested in politics and government policy and public policy, let them pay their admission price like everybody else. Tax them. Hey, the Catholic Church alone could wipe out the federal budget deficit if all you did was tax them on their real estate holdings. And speaking of real estate holdings, let's get back to Ronald Reagan and his criminal gang. When last we left them, they were going to get government off our backs. Yeah, but when it comes to abortion, they don't mind government being in a woman's uterus, do they? Yeah, backs are no good, but uterus is okay by them. These people call themselves right-to-lifers. Don't you love that phrase? And don't you love the way these kind of people pervert the English language? Right-to-lifers. You realize that most of the right-to-lifers are in favor of the death penalty? And they support the South American death squads, and they're against gun control, and they're against nuclear weapons control. When they say right to life, they're talking about their right to decide which people should live or die. So these right-wingers, you know, so these Reagan people, these right-wingers in general, these crypto-fascists, they're against homosexuality. They're against pornography. They're against sex education. They're against abortion. Yeah, they're going to get government off your back, but they're going to tell you how to live your sex life. And let me ask you this, how would they know anything about it? Have you ever taken a look at those people? Doesn't it strike you as mildly ironic that most of the people who are against abortion are people you wouldn't want to fuck in the first place? Doesn't that strike you a little strange?
And there you have it, folks. As long as we continue doing the same thing, as long as we continue supporting those politicians, city mayors, governors, presidents, senators, congressmen, the sheriff, as long as we continue selecting these people based on the fact that we like them, not based on the fact that we're actually paying closer attention to what is in their agenda and who they really represent, we're going to keep picking the wrong people. Now, I've said this in the past. Democratic, Republican, yes, Democrats are a little bit less, crazy, I guess you can say. Less Christian nationalist than the Republican Party has been since the Reagan administration. But I think that if we ever gonna see real change, it will happen because there is a new party created. Because the Democrat Republican Party is one and the same. It's just that one is less crazier and less, religiously inclined, I guess you can say, in some senses. But I believe that it's all the same. Because why? Both parties, Democrats and Republicans, have had multiple chances to provide us with better, things, affordable healthcare, affordable housing, free housing. There's so many things, that can be changed. Our wages are crap and has been for decades. Our wages don't match the cost of living. Cost of living keeps going up. Cost of food keeps going up, but our wages are stagnant. And what did the Reagan administration do? And before him, they started doing away with unions, doing away with pensions. We need things like that. Honestly, we have normalized, oh yeah, the more you work, you're better. and work, and then when you're 70, you can retire and actually enjoy life. When you're in the, at that time, it's not like, how can it be that we have to work until we are so old before we can actually enjoy life? And yes, companies give you vacations, but what's the most you can get? A month off? You're not going to be able to get a 6 months off, 1 year off a job. Nobody's going to do that. You'll get fired. And you can work for a company 20, 25, 30 years. And as long as it's not with a government entity, the teachers union or anything like that, you ain't going to get a pension. You're just going to have to, make your ends meet with whatever you saved and with Social Security, if it even exists for us at that point, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. So what the government has done is they have normalized the fact that we get paid nothing, and we just have to keep working, paying our taxes like good citizens, so that they can keep on spending money on stupid wars, on giving tax cuts to the oligarchs, and on destroying the environment while they enrich themselves and their families. And us, the working class that never stop working, we get the shitted on the stick all the time. And it has been the same. Over 10,000 chemicals in our foods. Why do we need all those chemicals when other countries don't do that? And a lot of the foods that we have here are banned in other countries. Why is that? We clearly know that this government is purposely poisoning us. They're poisoning our water, our food. And then Big Pharma creates medicine that is not to cure anything. It's just to treat the illness so that you can continue being a consumer of theirs. There's no cures. Big Pharma hasn't made any cures. What do you think that is? And a lot of people are always, sometimes I get comments like, well, this or well, that, or people, brown nosing, the government or the current regime or the oligarchs. Like, how can you be a working class individual and kiss ass of those that don't care about you and your family? That's the first problem that we have. We do deserve better than what we've been getting for the past 100, 250 years. We do deserve better. We do deserve a government, a Congress that does not take money from a different country in APAC money. How can we allow Israel to influence our politics? It's a different country. It's a different ideology than the ones we have here. All that shit needs to stop for this thing to work. And if we keep electing the same people that are taking APAC money or they have a different agenda, then we're making the same mistake over and over again. We need to hold these people accountable. Once they get elected, we need to keep on being on their ass so that they can actually do what they said that they were going to do, so that they can keep the promises that they made to us. And we need to stop buying stuff from companies that are billionaires, oligarchs, that are not going to do anything for their workers. All those things need to stop in order for things to change. Otherwise, it's going to continue being the same routine.